Hello. Welcome to the Connect 0007 experience. Here, we come to the podcast where human connection is everything. If you're trying to connect better with those around you, you're in the right spot. So please, sit back, relax, open your mind, and enjoy the experience. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to this amazing podcast. I am the host, actually, of this amazing podcast, and my name is Thaddeus Sims, and today's episode is our 73rd episode titled Finding Your Identity. And this episode is actually going to be a little bit different than the rest. You will see why very soon. But before going into the meat of this episode, the announcement is the same. So, Facebook page, Connect 0007. I'm gonna need y'all to hop on that. I'm gonna need more people to hop on this. We need to get it to 1,000. The anniversary is actually coming up very soon, November 20th. So, once we reach 1,000, there is a surprise for everybody. So, moving to the fun fact, which is actually very interesting. The fun fact is recycling one glass jar saves enough energy to watch television for 3 hours. The average person has the chance to recycle 25,000 cans in their lifetime. That's 75,000 hours of television. So for all of y'all out there watching Empire right now, Power, all of that other stuff, and then some, Netflix, all of that, y'all could be out there recycling. And if y'all don't have them recycle bins, particularly that blue bin and that yellow bin, I'm going to need y'all to step y'all game up because y'all slipping. You know what I mean? Like, y'all slipping. So do better. Do it for your TV. If not for the earth, do it for your damn TV. I'm just saying. So, getting into this episode, I have with me a very, very special guest for this episode. And she is the love of my life, who I have been hinting at here and there. And she's been listening to this podcast. And a select few people know who she is. And now I'm bringing her into the light. Her name is Priscilla. I didn't ask her to say her last name, but y'all gonna see her. Y'all gonna see her at some point. Y'all be able to find her. But I have this amazing individual on this podcast, and you guys don't understand. I'm very honored to have her on my podcast, and just know that I will be picking on her throughout this whole episode. So this is going to be very, very funny, and this is going to be a little bit different. This is actually just us like having a conversation about a very, very important topic that Priscilla actually brought to me regarding just like finding ourselves and our identity. And you hear many different things when it comes to your identity, be it things you grew up with, be it experiences. But her experience is quite interesting to me because it's a whole different battle that a lot of people go through. And you would never think nothing of it if you were not, quote unquote, in this category, so to speak, though we hate categories. So before going into that, my love, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about you? Or you want me to just jog them along with this one? Because I know this is your first time being on the podcast and this is weird for you.
Hi, guys. Yeah, he's definitely right. This is super weird for me. Me and Thaddeus go way back. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. And yeah.
So what that means is that I'm 27 as of yesterday, and she is still 26. So
Barely.
And what'd you say?
Just a couple more months.
Yeah. Then you're right there, and we'll be looking at 30, around the corner. But anywho, we met in middle school actually, and to this day we do not know who connected us together. We know there was a note involved.
Yeah.
But we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
About 4 to 5 people we have to interview and ask them, how did we get together? Because that is still a mystery. But we dated in middle school, and then afterwards we went to different high schools. So we split then, mutually agreed, because, you know, when you go into high school, you don't got a car like that. Your parents ain't finna be dropping you off to go here. And if your parents did, bless them, we wasn't doing that. So she was at Dwyer.
Correct.
And I was at Palm Beach Gardens. And then we just obviously we stayed in contact. She went to college in Alabama first, right?
Went to college in Tennessee first.
Really?
Went to school in Tennessee for about 4 years. Started with my pre-vet degree. Found out it wasn't for me. I then moved to Alabama. Was there for 4 years. And now I'm back in Tennessee.
Wow, I thought it was Alabama first and then Tennessee.
I went to Tennessee, good old small town of Harrogate, I think Memorial University, and then went to Alabama.
Wow. I thought I knew her, guys. Okay. I do. I just didn't know
16 years
that.
down the drain.
I know, right? I thought I knew this. I thought it was Alabama first, then Tennessee. And okay. All right. Well, yeah, she went to school. I dropped out. So she's awesome. I dropped out. I think I got a good 2-ish years. I think. I got someone you can back me up, but I dropped out.
I mean, it's okay. I didn't finish either, but it's okay not to finish. I knew that it wasn't right for me, and I could do better in the world without a degree.
Yeah, that's how it was for me. So if you are in college right now, that does not mean to drop out. Let me say that, because I know there's some college people. That doesn't mean to drop out. If that's for you, that's your calling, do it. But for us, just.
But don't let society define who you are.
Exactly, I'm glad you said that, because we're going to get into this episode. So that's a little bit about me and Priscilla. You know, we're going to go into the meat of this, because knowing me, I could talk about her like for hours. That's just very true story. I can go on and on about her. But me and her, so with this episode, me and her was talking yesterday.
Correct.
And what we were talking about was just like, just kind of going back and really finding ourselves and like our journey. And I would say I classified it as like everybody's going through that war of discovering themselves. But all of us who are in that war, we all have these different battles on different parts of the field, right? And if that sounds weird to you, just imagine, let's just say the war would be, the location would be America, right? And it could be whatever country you're at. And the battle may be a different field. So there could be a battle in Florida, where I'm at, and there could be a battle in Seattle. So there's different battles on different parts of America. So that's kind of how I was going about it. But this particular war is just about finding yourself, finding your identity. Who are you? The things you experience. And so what I come to discover, I was telling her most of my things were internal. There was things that I had to go through. And y'all done heard my episode. Y'all done heard many episodes about me. This is just giving you a little recap. But what she mentioned with her story was very, very interesting. And hers was more external and internal, but a lot of external stuff. Yeah. And so going into that, I believe we talked about, so let's start with the main thing of it is, okay, so as you guys know, if you don't know, if you haven't seen me, I'm identified as African American, Black, whatever, African ancestry. Now, for you,
I am biracial. So my mother is Caucasian, and my father is from the British West Indies of Montserrat. So he is Caribbean. So looking at me, I'm half Black, half white.
Right. Now, what was interesting about just this whole thing is when we go back, so we're going to kind of go back a little bit in the past here, is when me and her met, I never thought of, well, what are you? I never had that thought. Like, I just seen her, I was like, oh, she's pretty. She had long hair. That was all that was for me. That's all that mattered for me, right? Sound like a typical guy. She had long hair. She was beautiful. That's all I needed to know. I never thought, oh, are you Black? Are you white? Are you Spanish? She was just Priscilla to me. But what she told me, it was always that. So you've always gotten that question of,
who are you? What are you? It started in elementary school. the the first question was, "What are you?" And being like the kid in no school, that question just throws you through a loop. You're just like, "I'm Priscilla." And like, no, what are you? I was like, "What do you mean? Like, what's your race?" I was like, "Oh, I'm part black, part white." I was like, "No, you look black." And I was like, "But I'm also white as well." And it was a hard thing for kids to grasp at that age. And it didn't really hit me until I got older age. I was like, wait, I can see what people think. When you look externally, you see black. They don't actually like see the inside of who you really are. So yeah, it started in elementary school, and then I would get in middle school, and the second question would arise: "What are you?" When me and Thaddeus started dating, the question started to rise again as well, because I honestly don't sound, I guess
Black.
black. I guess you can say that.
You don't sound black enough.
No. And so they would ask me, "What are you?" And I'm like, and I knew the answer. I was like, "I'm half black, half white." And you're like, no, you're not. No, you're black. And I was like, "No, I am both." And it's still a hard thing for people to grasp, of people being two different races.
Yes. And okay, let me give you guys the energy that she was attacked with that I wasn't aware of, which I don't know. She tells me not to feel bad. I can't go back in the past and fix it, but I do kind of feel a little bit bad. I'm working on it. But her dating me caused some things to happen, right? So in middle school, we went to Jupiter Middle.
Correct.
And that's in Jupiter, Florida. So Jupiter was a predominantly white school, right? And I think with this whole magnet program, I guess they were trying to diversify, something like that, maybe. So it was a lot of us who were black, and we came from, a lot of us was Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, black neighborhoods, so to speak. And it was different. Now, the school was very segregated, not in a sense of like the school was, let me say this, the school was like blacks are here, whites are like, no, it was like very clique-ish. Like everybody had a clique. The whites were over here. Like, okay, literally if you took the bus, you had the rebel weird kids solo to themselves at the bus loop, didn't want to deal with nobody. You go further up, then you kind of started going into like, okay, these were the different kids. As you go further up, like you were going into the main office, you had, I would say, you had white kids on one side, the skaters-ish difference. Then you had the black group who was dead smack in the middle. Then you had some Spanish somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you had the difference, and it was very, as soon as you walk on the campus, you would know, okay, this is very segregated. Everybody had their cliques, right?
Yeah.
So when me and her dated, she was, I guess you would say, in the white clique ish, or was there mixed clique?
So just a backstory. Me and Thaddeus both rode the bus, and just to give you guys a visual. So the front of the bus was predominantly white. The middle of the bus is what you would call the melting pot. So it was like Hispanic, biracial. There's some whites, but that was like the melting pot. And then you got to the back, and it was straight African American.
All us black folks back
there. Yeah. And so when we started dating, I was mainly in the middle. I never went to the front, never went to the back. I stayed in the middle. That was my clique. Thaddeus being the lover he is and being like super, everyone loved each other. He was like, one day he was like, "Let's go back to the bus and sit with me." I was like, and I had this weird feeling. I was like, okay, I'll sit in the back with you. New territory, whatever. So I went in the back with him, and a couple of kids got on the bus, and they got in the back, and they're African American, and they're like, "You don't belong here." And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, this isn't your seat. Like, you belong with the whites and with the other kids. And I was like, but I'm with my boyfriend, and they couldn't get past that, and it was crazy.
It was. So, guys, that, like, at that time in middle school, I know you would think our ancestors done fought for us to not be in the back, and we go into the back, right? Like, obviously, we're hard-headed as hell. So we claimed the back of the... So, to be honest, we were the loud kids in the back. Like it would, if we were back there, the bus was lit in the back. If you went
Yes.
up the front, it was quiet. And everybody was just like, just face forward, don't look back. We're not gonna make eye contact with them. All of that. That's just
Yeah, I mean, like this hearing that, I don't think I ever actually looked back there.
Yeah, no
like,
one-
I would look straight ahead to my busmate and like our friend and my other friends, but we were honestly kind of, it's sad to say, but afraid to look to the back.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
That was the energy, guys. Like no one looked back, and if you look back, someone's gonna be like, "You got an issue." It was. I wasn't that bad. I promise you. I was the chill one.
He wasn't.
I was literally the chill one. So I was not the one. Oh, Thad, you're part of. No, I was literally like, well, I know them. They kind of stay down the street from me, so I'm gonna see them at my bus stop. So, anywho, so that's kind of like that. So I learned that later on actually, because I didn't know this in middle school. And if she did tell me, I'm sorry, I was blind to it. But later on, she just, right?
I forgive you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it was later on, she told me that, yeah, like, and she didn't say it like, oh, because I dated you, I was attacked. Like, no, this is just me saying it from just our talk. That's just, y'all know I use strong vocabulary. And she would tell me like, yeah, I was like, people would just say like, yeah, you don't belong back. You don't belong back here. The way she spoke, you're white. Like you're different. You don't sound back like, there. To give you guys who are not from America, let me just say this. I know there's international listeners. To give you an example of, well, what do you mean? Like someone sounds white or what's the difference? So someone who sounds white sounds proper. They're using their words. They're enunciating. They're saying things.
But not to cut you off, but it doesn't mean that African Americans can't talk proper.
Exactly.
It's just the stereotype that isn't put on race in America.
Exactly. And usually in the African community, we do have like a dialect. Like we speak a certain way, or we can change it up. It's just how we is. We may cut off some words or blend some words. It's just like the way we talk. And so, not saying we were ignorant or nothing like that. It was just a very different environment that we were all placed in. And so she would just tell me these different things that happened. And so let me give you guys an example. I remember, and I'm aware of this. Like you mentioned before, like for those who are mixed, black and white, you can tell by the way they talk which side they're more on, either
Correct.
the black side or the white
Correct.
side. And that was very interesting to me because it's like I witnessed that, but there was another person who was same black, white like her, but because of the way Priscilla spoke and how she carried herself, she was considered more on the white side. But there's someone else who's black and white as well, but the way she was raised and how she spoke, she was more considered the black side. Mm-hmm. So she was back there with us wilding out too. Mm-hmm. So it's just these different scenarios. Now, going further into this, Priscilla has told me this experience, and it's just like, wow. I think the biggest one that Priscilla told me, which I never thought about, was when she said you were going to your license, right?
Yeah, it was the first time. I was 18 and I got my license for the first time. I'm not the typical teenager who got 16, I got 18. But I remember taking my photo, and I was filling out paperwork, and they gave the question of race, and you can only check one box. And that threw me through a loop. I was like, wait, but I'm both races. And I remember going up to the front and talking to the woman at the desk, and I was like, excuse me, ma'am, so what do I do if I'm two races? What do I check? She's like, oh, honey, you're black. And I was like, but I'm not. I am both races. I am white and I am black. She's like, well, when someone sees you, you're black. And I was like, I'd never been really put into a box. And so that threw me through the loop. So I had to check black. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Which was, it now, for those of us who may not have to go through that threw me for a loop when she shared that with me, because when you think of these, regular life decisions that you have to make, like that's really not, that you don't think is really important. Someone else may go through a different experience with that. So growing up, I know I always had to check, oh, okay, African American or African descent, black, and it was in parentheses African descent. Okay, boom. I also have Cherokee Native American in my, ancestry too, but like, I don't know, it wasn't as strongly taught. It was just like, oh yeah, by the way, you got that in there too. I was like, okay. And I seen the Native American thing, but it was like, even that part I learned, when you check that, there has to be like some documentation and things like that. I was like, okay, well, I can't really put that because I had to do ancestry stuff and prove that. So I just went by black. Now, growing up, it was just, okay, black. But the experience that she shared was that, okay, you only can choose one and you're both. It's just like,
society had defined who you were from that time on. I mean, I remember even being in middle school and middle school and elementary school, and we take FCAS. So in Florida, it's like a standardized test, and you take them throughout your school years. And it was black, white, non-Hispanic, and other. And I was always click other. So yeah, when I turned 18 and had that situation happen, I was just like, wait, what? I don't have another option? I'm not other? Yeah. I just grew to being other, and I was like, oh wait, I gotta choose.
Mm-hmm. That threw me off, like, for a minute. Like, she was just telling me that, and it's just like, wow, I never would have thought that, because growing up, in a black household, okay, yeah, just mark black and keep it moving. Didn't think much of it. But for someone else in that particular situation, it's just like, okay, wow, you are both, but you can't write both, and different things like that. And so going more into just really like finding the identity, I know, and it's okay if we don't have to cover this, but I know we talked a little bit. We don't have to go too deep in that part because they're not here. But I know you went a little bit into your upbringing, just with like, so your mom's side is the white side, and
Correct.
then father's side is the black side.
Correct.
So I'm gonna ask you, what was that like growing up? Because for me, it was, I have both my parents black. So it was just like, okay, we always had that one side we grew up with the most, the one side we probably seen. Some of y'all lucky y'all got both sides, and y'all got both sides in the house. But it wasn't much of it like, okay, well, this is my white side of the family and this is my black side. It was just like, okay, they're both black. So what was it like? What was that world like growing up with a white side and a black side? What was that world like?
So in our house, we really didn't talk about race. Like, race was never brought up. It was my mom, it was my dad, and it was me. So I really didn't get hit until I stepped into the outside world. I was really sheltered. So I stepped into the outside world, and I have older parents. My mother is in her 60s, father is in his 70s. So going out and with a white mother and then seeing a black child, they would ask, is she adopted? Is that your granddaughter? And my mom's like, no, this is my daughter. I birthed her. Her father is black. And people just couldn't see that. But I did notice that it was more acceptable when I was with my father, who's black. Like, I wouldn't ever get those questions. They just were like, oh, your daughter's so pretty, blah, blah. And then we move along. So I didn't really notice it much until I was outside and like in the public. But at home, my parents definitely kept race. It was kind of like a taboo. Like, race wasn't really talked about in the house.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, okay, so talk about what we were mentioning earlier. Like, I didn't know this world that biracials, and I'm going to talk about that too, because I'm going to throw myself under the bus with that, guys. But so look out for that. But you mentioned biracials, like black and white. You guys were considered like the invisible race. Okay, for like a little bit.
Yeah.
And just in case y'all didn't hear that, invisible race. So yes, you talked about that aspect for a bit. What is that? What is that for us who don't know this?
So, for those of you guys who know, in the United States, we have a census. And it categorizes Americans based on their race, their family size, employment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Prior to 2000, you could only choose one race. You either white, black, Native American, Alaskan, et cetera, et cetera. You couldn't choose two races. So if you were biracial in America, you weren't counted on the census. You're basically the invisible race. But there's a court case. There's also a movie. It's called Loving. It brought to light interracial marriage and how much a taboo that was. Once that came to light, it got the ball moving on, oh, hey, there's this third race. We're mixing races, biracial, multicultural. We probably should include them. They're paying taxes, et cetera, et cetera. And so in 2000, you can check multiple boxes.
Wow.
But yeah, for the longest time, if you were biracial or more than one race, you weren't counted on census. You were forced to pick one race.
Wow.
Or not be counted.
And see, that right there is just like, that's just crazy to me that because of like being both, society is forcing you to be in this box over here. And I'd imagine that doing that kind of throws one off, like internally, like it kind of throws off, you're like, who am I? Because the world, it's like, for me, I would think, who the heck am I? Because I'm not really fully this. I'm also this, but this isn't counted. So where the hell can I even be at to be myself?
Yeah.
So just like that whole world, like when she shared this with me, that opened my eyes to a completely different world of experiences that those who are biracial go through. And I will not lie, I'm guilty of it when I see some people who are mixed, like they just, like, for example, when I see someone who's black and like Japanese, I'm like, you look good, but what are you though? You know, and I shouldn't say that. I'm like, they're thinking to be like, oh, but I'm like, you look good. Like, you different. You don't look, you're black, but you got some type of Asian or something. And that sounds so that sounds so profiling, whatever. But it's just, and I was telling her about that. I was like, I would say as humans, we do like categorize a lot of things. And I was like, I feel like where it should loosen up is when we categorize people. And I feel like that's where a lot of the issues come about. And I think what makes it hard for that is like, okay, because I like to challenge myself with challenging questions and challenging other people. And what I used to say was like, okay, well, I get we shouldn't do that, but what happens if you're walking down the street and someone is looking for an individual to help them? Like they drop their purse. Like, hey, did you see this black guy walking down the street in green pants? It's like, well, if you don't categorize it to help identify the person, then what do you say? Well, I did see a tall humanoid figure in green pants. Is that the one you're looking for? Well, okay, that person could be short. There are other tall humanoid figures. Is this humanoid? What color was this humanoid? Oh, okay. Well, this humanoid, I don't know why I'm saying humanoid, but this humanoid they were black. They were a little black. They had dreads or whatnot. Or they were white and they were walking their dog. They had their sandals. So it was that. Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They just passed me. They made a left over here. So it's just like, when do you do it? You don't. But all of that. But you better say something.
Don't get me wrong. It's okay. Like, embrace who you are. Love who you are. So, it's okay to say they're black, they're white, etc. Just know that there might be more to them, to those just two colors. Like, they're insides. Mm-hmm. So, like, I know I do it myself. Like, yeah, the African American or the white individual, blah blah. But what if we said it's like saying race? What if we said the tall individual, or just described them by what they are? Mm-hmm. But yeah, don't be afraid of who you are.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I brought up what I asked. So what I asked Priscilla was like after she shared like all this with me and I felt horrible. I was just like, okay, me being me was like, well, I hate that word. I don't desire to be that person that falls in that category as those people who don't care. So I was asking her, I was like, okay, so how is it that I support you in this whole thing? And I remember you were saying just accept that I'm both and not just one. And
don't try to put me into a box.
Exactly.
So like you said, just set me as who I am. I'm Priscilla. I'm a great friend. I am a lover of science and giant microbes.
We're not telling them that story.
No. But I mean, just see me as an individual, and don't like if I tell you, hey, I'm biracial, I'm this and that. Like, don't be like, oh no, you're black, or no, you talk white. Like, I'm both, except both sides. Except that I might like rap one day, or I might like country. Like, accept the sides.
Yeah, she's telling me that, guys. She's telling y'all too that. She's telling me that, except these, because it's funny. But we joke, and I was like, okay, so is it okay when I mess with you and say, okay, this is your white side? She's like, yeah, I love that, because it's accepting both those sides. Because if you guys get in the car with her, her whole range of music is very expansive. But I like it because it gets me outside of my categories. And
That's so true.
because we literally will, I think just being in a car with you for like 10 minutes, we went from something in our R&B to...
We went from Kane Brown to Shawn Mendes to R. Kelly, and then back to like gospel. So it's
all of that. I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay. And then she played one song that really is, which I need to know that song. You got to send me that song.
Oh, Bryce Fine.
Okay, yeah, it was one song she was playing. I was like, okay, like that brings memories and stuff. So yeah, and I think before coming to visit her, she was like, oh, by the way, it's fall time, so my white side's gonna come out, and I'm gonna get. What did she say? I'm gonna get your
I'd be pumpkin spice decked out in flannel.
all of that,
Yeah.
all of that. Like how they say you can catch a white girl is with pumpkin spice lattes and stuff. She's like, yeah, that side's gonna come out. I'm like, okay, all right, let's see. I'll adjust. But that's just me being an asshole to her. And the part that I said that I'm going to throw myself under the bus on, because just saying this this is me attacking. I don't know. I like to look at many different views on something. But I was saying to her, I was like, how my mindset is, I always focus at the source of something. And so when I see people, I don't really focus on our differences or like, okay, this person's biracial, this person is Indian, this person is whatever. I'm like, I focus on, okay, we're all human beings, and that's internally, that's just what I have in me. Like we all have a heart, we all have all the stuff that makes us human, and these differences is maybe where we grew up at, or our upbringing, or these our melanin and stuff like that, how much you have, blah blah blah. And so I was just like, yeah, that's how I see it. But at the same time, I was challenging myself to where a person can be like, okay, well, yeah, you can see that, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna have to mark black on this paper. At the end of the day, I'm still gonna have to go over here and say I'm this, or at the end of the day, I can't really say I'm this, that, and the other, all my culture. So it's just this whole, that's just me. I know I'm probably just attacking myself with it, but that's just how I view it. Is just like, we're all human beings at the end of the day. We're all a human race at the end of the day. And all of these things that happen in the world, I do see it as it like separates or try to separate us and doesn't let us be ourselves, because yes, we're human beings, but we're more than just being human beings. Like you said, you love science. There's more to you than just, oh, Priscilla's a human. Like, okay, like, did you know she loves animals? A lot. Did you know she loves owls and pineapples? A lot. And then some. Did you know she's very passionate about like kids and things? So it's like, it allows you to get past this whole barrier of race and this, that, and the other, and really get to know a person. So this, now I'm bringing it back to finding your identity, right? This is how we started it off. So just giving you all a bit of where we were coming from with that is just these different identities that society will place on us, and even people around you will place on you. Like, like you said, a person's like, oh no, baby, you're black. That's what you're going to be. And when it comes to finding your identity, what are you going to say?
I think the biggest thing is what's happening is we're so afraid to see differences. We're all so used to, well, how you like me. You're not like me, so let me conform you to be like me. At the end of the day, we're different.
Right.
Like, it's how we are. If we were all the same, we would be a boring little world. Like nothing would get done. So it's at the end of the day, it's embracing your different, being able to embrace that. So there's some people out there that are multicultural. There's some people out there that are not straight or etc. It's embracing those find those differences and embracing them, and not trying to put everyone into one little ribbon tied box.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like that's what's happening with the world. Even if it's pissing a lot of people off, I feel like that's definitely what's happening with the world. Is like everything in the world right now is trying to tell us, hey, there are differences. Like all of us are different, and it's time for us to get, like you said, get out of these boxes or categories and say, hey, yeah, there is a person who has to come. Our TV just popped back on. Yeah, you can turn it off. I think she was recording something and it just like popped back on. But that works too. I love it. But yeah, I just feel like the world is just telling us that, and it's time for these differences, because it is a lot of people. Oh, that's what I was saying. It is a lot of people who have different sexual orientations. That there are some I did not know of, and it's cool to learn these different things. Or there's people who see things a completely different way than we do.
Yeah.
Especially being in America and all this stuff, and you meet someone who's not from here, like just all these different things that we're used to, just understanding like a person is different, and it's okay that that person's different. It's okay for you to be different. And I would say to develop that confidence is really, you have to take the time to discover who you are. Like, what makes you different? Who are you? Do you love yourself? It's like, build that self-confidence, get to know who you are. Okay, yeah, you have your family and stuff like that, but your family doesn't necessarily define you. How do you define yourself? So
Yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of like tips with like finding your identity. So in this little part, let's share little tips for them to find identity. So from someone who is from the invisible race, the biracial, what tips would you give those who are biracial and who have been going through this whole identity thing that society has put? It's like all of the stuff you've experienced. What would you say from your life you can give them tips on to identify who they are?
Embrace both sides. Or if you're more than two races, being like multicultural, embrace them all and learn little facts about them. So like me being of Caribbean descent, I know nothing about that side, and I am embarrassed to say that, but I'm taking those steps to learn about it. So like I'm planning a trip to go to my father's and family's home island of Montserrat. What else can you do? Yeah, I guess basic, like the overall thing is just embracing, like, it's okay that you're not one thing. It's okay that you're different. It's okay to not fit into the status quo. Do you.
Yeah. Do you, boo-boo. Do you, boo-boo.
Do you.
Yeah. And I would say, so that was amazing right there, because you helped an audience that I could not help an audience with. And I appreciate you. That is new right there for me. And the only thing from, y'all hear me always on the podcast. So, but I would just say my tips for finding your identity is really, really taking the time to be in solitude. Y'all know I say that all the time. Take the time to be in solitude and really ask yourself, who are you? And not what your mom and dad has told you, not what society has told you, not what the damn TV has told you, or your favorite anime. But ask yourself, who are you? And know that whatever you write down or whatever you decide is true for you, and it doesn't have to be true for everybody else. And own that and grow with that, live with that. I also accept and understand that things will change. You know, you'll grow and you'll develop, and, you know, I did identify as this at one point, but it's not the case anymore. And so what I may mean by that is, like, I once before, when I was younger, people would say, oh, what are you? I was like, you know, religious wise, I was like, oh, I am Christian. That's what my parents said. That's what we are. That's what I'm doing. And then later on, I found it wasn't for me. So I would go and learn about, Native American spirituality. So I was, I'm spiritual. And even to this day, a lot of people would say, oh, that's very spiritual. But I don't even claim that to this day. I say I'm free because that just works for me. I wouldn't say I'm just spiritual. I just say I'm free. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, it's so much. That's why I just say free. It's so your identity, however you define yourself, is what's true. And understand that you have your own truth and you will grow into that truth and understand. And also just understand it's not going to be true for everybody else. So that is my tips of finding your identity, and even also surrounding yourself by other people who, are a bit like you, who have your interests and things like that. And I will say, because of an individual who I've spoken with a few days ago, he has helped me to understand that you can also associate with people who are very, very, very opposite and different from you. I had a hard time with that because I'm like, if I can't find something we have common ground on, it doesn't really work.
But that goes back to knowing that people are different.
Exactly. And that's what he said to me. Like, that whole conversation was like about me and Aries. Like, I don't know. It was like Aries women. I know this is like, you don't care. So, but for them. It was like when it came to Aries women, I was like, yeah, I get along with them. But Aries, like males, I don't understand why we don't click, or it's just something that doesn't match. And he was just saying, like, dude, he was like, we're opposite. He was like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, we're very opposite in like almost all these different things. And just me and him having a conversation, and we don't really like mesh or connect like I would someone else. And so he was just saying, like, he was like, I like that we are opposite because there's a lot that I could learn from you and vice versa. Like, you are more chill and you're able to hold conversations and you seem like stable, versus me, I would just go off of like emotions or input and things like that. So it's like, vice versa. So learning from people who are very, very different as well. Now, any final things on that part before I move to the last segment of the podcast?
No.
Okay. So, guys, that was it for the meat of this episode. And I am now going to go into the Health is Wealth segment of the podcast. And for those of you who are new, the Health is Wealth is for you all who listen to the podcast to not only get information on how to connect with different people and things like that. We talked on that. We did. I was like, did I? We talked on that. Sorry, I'm thinking. All right. So before going into that, so the Health is Wealth is pretty much every time you listen to the podcast, you're getting more than just how to connect with people or learning different things, but you're getting something that you can add into your wealth, which is your health as well. You're listening to this podcast and you're probably either at work or you're at home relaxing or you're doing some type of activity, whatever it is. And it's good to learn something else that is different that will benefit your health. So that way, when you come back and listen to the next episode, you're a bit better and you feel better and you're happier and your blood's flowing and then some. So for this particular topic, I think you'd find this interesting, is health is wealth. This one is go out in nature. Because we just came back earlier from a nice nature walk, which was fun. Let's tell them a little bit about that. That was fun. We went up hills, we went down.
Tripped over a couple roots. Almost twisted my ankle again. But yeah, like you're saying, nature is amazing. There's so many things that nature can give to you. And we're so stuck in our 9-to-5 lives that we don't have time to stop and breathe, and just like going out today was awesome.
It was.
Like just being able to stop and smell the air and hear the leaves and just the solitude was awesome.
It was like, and even those like the rock formations was cool, and like how these rocks made. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but how the rocks made like steps or whatever. I don't know how that was. That was just beautiful. Like she hated the steps, but it was great. We'd seen some almost hut looking thingies out there where like people gather and stuff, so that was cool. And I finally seen a squirrel. I was so happy, but she yelled in my way. I did it the first time, whatever. But yes, okay. Intuition's kicking in. All right. So what I mean by go out in nature, there are benefits. So she said those, but I would like to give you some more benefits with that, which it actually ties into what a few things that you say. Why? Because I know I was like, gosh, I love the smell. I love the way like you hear the wind. There's actually something to that. So let's go into this. So the benefits of walking in nature is that it controls depression, improves athletic performance, improves immunity and memory, reduces anxiety, helps battle colds and flu, makes you happy, speeds recovery time after sickness, reduces cancer. So it says a new medical marvel. Nope, just walking in nature. So research from Nippon Medical School in Tokyo shows a nature walk changes blood flow in the brain to a state of relaxation and increase the number of natural killer cells the body produces to battle infections. So how does this work? Our brain gently registers the wind in the leaves and the sound of the waves, revitalizing a fatigued mind. Remember how we were out there? It was like, this wave sounds awesome. We love this. Okay. And phytoncides, phytoncides, and phytoncides, the olfactory provoking chemicals that trees naturally secrete, reduces stress hormones, and they can be cancer protective. The more forest around you, the lower the rates of lung, breast, uterine, prostate, kidney, and colon cancers. We also know that long walks nourishes mind, body, and spirit in addition to all the benefits mentioned above. So the benefits of long walks for the body. It improves aerobic capacity for more efficient oxygen intake with the breathing. Yeah. Your body burns fat and sugar more efficiently while you're walking. You'll learn to pace yourself so you can keep going all day without getting tired. Your body will learn to be more relaxed, the benefit of which is immeasurable. Yeah. You'll become a master of your body and be able to accomplish any goal you set for yourself. The benefits of the long walk for the mind. You will learn to focus and relax your mind. You can enjoy yourself and your surroundings. You will learn patience as you walk longer distance. I definitely need to walk longer because I'm getting better with patience. But you'll learn to use your mind to overcome adversity. And lastly, you'll become a master of your mind and be able to accomplish any goal you set for yourself. And all of this is really just by going out in nature and relaxing. I would say to you guys personally, I didn't do it today because this was new to me and like I'm in a different area. But usually when I go out in nature, I don't bring my phone with me. So just having like just you and your thoughts and not being distracted by like a call or a text message and you just soaking it all in. Like there is a science to like all of this stuff of why we feel the way we feel and just how relaxing it is. So for you all who live in many different areas, I will tell you that there is some part of nature that you can go to. So we're in Tennessee now. So it's surrounded by forests and mountains and it's beautiful. If you're in Florida, like where I live, you have the beach, which is amazing. And there's also some little nature parks as well. And then obviously wherever else you're at, y'all got something. Y'all got, I think in canyons. I don't know how canyons would be. Like, you know how the dude we met was talking about like the Utah or something like that? There was a guy we met. Yeah, like I don't know what that would be like, but I'm sure that would be amazing going out in the canyons and stuff like that. But it's just really nice to take the time, guys, to get away from life and really go out in nature. For me personally, nature is my mentor. And I always learn so much from it. And I always get a lot of things. My spirit talks to me the loudest there. And then some. So with that being said, any final words you would like to say to the amazing people so far?
Be yourself. Be unique. And be free.
I love it. And with that being said, guys, I will talk to you all Friday. And you all have an amazing rest of your day. I appreciate all of you guys as well. Also, thank you for the new followers on the podcast. I have been seeing that, so grateful as well. And also, there are some new things coming up for the podcast. And that is in the works. I am working actually to give you all more. And to be honest with you, my secret weapon here, Priscilla, has been really helping me out with a lot of stuff. So I will tell you also the new stuff that's going to be coming out soon. Just know this was not all me. There is someone and a team forming to make, all of this something different. So there's a lot of things in the works, guys. So with that being said, you all are amazing. I will talk with you all very soon, and enjoy the rest of your day. Go out for a nice, good little walk. Go recycle something, do something better. And yeah. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please leave a 5-star rating and share with a friend near you. Remember, the world's a better place because you exist. Know your worth and know thyself.